Using crafts to support group cohesion. Hi, I'm Louise Fouché. Welcome to our YouTube channel and welcome to part 3 of our series, Using Crafts in Groups. So today we're going to unpack a little bit the concept of how can I use my crafts to support group cohesion. So this was from my own experience when I was helping out at a private clinic. And what we would notice is we would have an emotional group in the morning, and then we would have normally another hour in our program in which we did walking or cognitive stimulation or something like that. And then in the afternoon, we would then have what we called a craft group. And what we saw happen is there was this incredible cohesion in the morning group. And by the time we came to crafts, everybody started splintering, doing their own thing, and we were losing and almost working against ourselves with the cohesion. Then we would start the next morning and build the cohesion again. And so, in a certain sense, our program wasn't really supporting the cohesion that we were building within our group. Now, again, I want to just put in here a disclaimer that this was a clinic in which there was a handful of beds. In other words, we basically filled 2 occupational therapy groups, and each therapist would facilitate a week with a group. And so I understand that in some clinics, you have very large population number, and you don't have enough therapists that can literally focus on one group and take them through the whole process. However, I decided I want to still keep this in for those of you that are in 24-bed units or even in smaller bed units to understand that you can use crafts to support your group cohesion. So when you are building the group cohesion, that you are able to sustain and hold the cohesion by using your craft program time to be able to really do that. So what do I mean with that? I mean with that when we have a look at doing something together, all of us together in the group on one project, then we are facilitating group cohesion. We are supporting the cohesion that has already been formed in our groups, and we are holding it together. And there can be a lot of different activities that you can ask during your time that you normally use crafts to be able for the group to do it together. So maybe, for instance, might give them something like, I want everybody in the group to make a fridge magnet for somebody in the group. You're going to draw a name, and for that person, I want you to make this fridge magnet, and I really want you to think about them and what could be an inspiring message for them today. And then they would still do the craft activity, but then at the end, you are going to be handing over the fridge magnet you made for that person, and you're going to be explaining why I want to give this to you and how I think that this could possibly inspire you. And maybe you didn't realize you're stronger than what you are. And so I hope that every time you see this, you'll remember this. And so now we're building on the cohesion. Everybody in the group made something for everybody else. And so now you feel like you belong. You feel like you've been seen. You feel like you've been heard. Instead of the person making their own fridge magnet, we have now created something for somebody else. So we're building on cohesion. Or maybe you want to make a big placard for the group to remember in and paste it up in the group room. So this is a mantra that the group wants to keep coming back to. So together as a group, they need to put this poster together, decorate it in whatever way they want, but the group together as a whole is now sitting together, thinking what is important for them as a group, trying to get to a mantra that when they are faced with difficulty or there's conflict in the group, it's something that the group can fall back on. And you can use decoupage as a means for them. Maybe it's not a poster, but maybe a bit more of a hardboard that they can decorate, that you can put up for them. Or maybe they want to write it on a macaroni and just have that handy for them. Or another activity that I have seen that really, it sounds so cheesy, but it's about the cohesion underneath that becomes so meaningful for the group participants. So each person in the group took a handful of macaronis that they themselves made in a color that represented them, maybe with a word that represented them. And then at the end of that, they give one of their macaroni pieces to everybody else in the group. So I'm giving one to each person in the group, and each person in the group is giving one to me. And then I either can tie it with a piece of string or something like that as a reminder of the group and who's in my group and the support that I get from my group. And so this forms almost like a tangible representation of my group for me. And again, I want to reiterate, it sounds quite cheesy, but you'll be surprised at the impact because it is not about the macaroni. It is about this is the group that I belong to. These are my group members. We are all so unique and we are all significant. And all of us, each of us makes this group up. So maybe if macaroni is a bit too cheesy for you, is there another way you can use this? The one group a colleague of mine did, everybody almost like made banners or scarves like in Survivor, buffs. And what was amazing is that the clients started wearing these buffs in the clinic because it was such an important sense of belonging, my tribe being part of my group, that they made the buffs together. There was a color chosen for the group, there was a symbol chosen for groups, and everybody had to incorporate it with material paint on a piece of material that made up the buff. And then afterwards, they could do with the buffs what they wanted. Amazingly enough, they all wore them. And so again, I'm not saying you have to use any of these. If you're not comfortable with them, think of other things. There are just so many things out there that you could be using. The principle is, how do I use my crafts to support cohesion? My goal would be, it's about how do I increase cohesion in my groups by using a craft? All right. And do I answer the questions? Do you remember the questions? Is there intervention? Yes. Would it have happened outside if they just happened to be doing it together? Not likely. Do they do it in a group? Yes. They're talking about the cohesion, that it is every person together in this group. And what is the goal I'm trying to achieve? I'm trying to build more cohesion. So there, the challenge is in your court. I hope you will spend this coming week thinking or designing one group in which your craft will become a means of facilitating group cohesion. I look forward to seeing you next week. In the meantime, happy facilitation.